Hi everyone. So today I am prepping for my IV course this weekend. So I decided to do a pre-recording instead of a live. I'm still going to go through everything that I would have done in the live, and so I hope you find this helpful. So today's big question for our Facebook and Instagram live is, what are allergy support visits? And so I figured I would bring the Lymph-Dyrel and Allergy, which are the homeopathics we use in office for our allergy support oral shots. They're oral shots, so that they're not something that gets a needle in the arm, but you do need a needle to get them out of these. So I'm going to show you how we do it. Obviously, we'd have a clean field. I would be gloved, whatnot, but this is just one for myself, so I'm not too worried about it. So the Lymph-Dyrel, this homeopathic is a complex homeopathics that really help drain the lymphatic system. So if you've ever felt like some sinus congestion, if your lymph nodes are swollen, so if you notice you have some lymph nodes that are swollen, Lymph-Dyrel is one of my favorites. It's not the only one out there, but this is the one we have in our office. And so they come in little vials, and that's like a single serving. Okay, that's 2 mils. And so before we begin, I'm only gonna get one of each for our one oral allergy support. But basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna shake it down. So we wanna make sure all the liquid is under this top part here. So one good shake and it's good to go. The Allergy, this is the complex homeopathics that help support the allergies. So the initial allergic response when you first come in contact with pollen or some sort of exposure that triggers mast cells to release histamine. So this one's really good at preventing that. So are stabilizing the mast cells, allowing the body to be less reactive to potential triggers. So it doesn't mean that you're not going to still have triggers, but if we can bring down your reaction by, let's say, 20%, 30%, 50%, sometimes even 70%, now you're not having to rely as much on your reactant every day. So isn't that worth it? I think so. So this one's for the immediate response, trying to stabilize those histamine so you're not getting the itchy, watery eyes, nose, mouth. The Lymph-Dyrel, that helps with the congestion part and draining the lymphatics, is going to help with the secondary part. And that's our long-term exposure to an allergen. It typically happens around the 4-hour, 6-hour mark after we've already been exposed. And so if you feel like there's a lot of congestion, you feel a bit stuffed up, you might have pressure behind the eyes, then the Lymph-Dyrel helps. Another thing that I really like to do that's very simple, an ice cube. So if you put an ice cube the top roof of your mouth and hold it there for a bit in your mouth, it can help alleviate some of the congestion that's created with seasonal allergies. Okay, so let's grab a vial of the Allergy. And I did do a Facebook Live 2 weeks ago now with Dr. Andrea, the doctor from the Oakville Clinic. We talked about what the CDC recommends our symptomology between what's going on right now in the world and what is classified as a seasonal allergy, because a lot of the symptoms do overlap. And so there is a little diagram that they've provided that shows you that the most common symptoms that are just allergies, there's no cross in between, is itchy and sneezing and watery eyes. So it's that itchy picture. So if you're feeling very, very itchy, then it's more likely seasonal allergies. Okay, did I do this one? Did that one. Yeah, this one's good. Okay. So before we start, we always check the expiration date. So we're good. 2024. We've shook them down. We're gonna, normally I would sanitize and glove at this point, but we grab our syringe. And because we're doing 2 vials here, because we want to address both the immediate and the long response, it is going to be 4 mils total. So I have a 5 mil syringe. And then we just put our needle on. Depending on the clinic, there's different needles. Doesn't matter. It gets removed before I even see the patient. So we'll get that set up. And then we have to break these. So when breaking these, I typically will wear a glove because it prevents me from accidentally nicking myself, but fingers crossed I don't start bleeding on screen. See this little dot here? We're going to break away like that, and it just pops right off. So I'm going to bring this up closer. You can see how it's pretty sharp though. You have to be careful. So do the same thing with this one. Even sharper on this one. So we want to be careful about that. Okay, now that we have them both open, we'll take our needle off, and now we're ready to fill the syringe. So I typically go with the side that's got the most glass up, so that I know where it is. Come on. There we are. Okay. A little bit of air that came out there. So I'm going to give myself some more room now for the next one. And we don't have to worry about air. I'm just making sure that I have enough space so that when I fill this vial, I have at least 2 mils, if not more, for potentially getting air. Okay, done. Okay, so there we are. It's all in. I'm going to pull it down all the way to make sure there's nothing in the actual needle. I'm going to cap the needle, remove it, because we don't need the needle anymore. That goes in the sharps container. And now we have our Allergy oral support. Kids love these. We tell them it's like a squirt gun, like a water gun, and that you just hold it under your tongue. Okay, so here's your squirt gun. And swallow. It tastes a bit salty, like salty water. And so what's nice about homeopathics is they're safe in children and childbearing years. So I don't know if you guys know this yet, but I'm pregnant. It's been hard to keep that secret for the past 3 months, but I am. And so doing this, I know I'm not going to be harming the baby. I'm not going to be interacting with any medications. And let me explain that a little bit, because a lot of people are like, oh, but like, what is it then? If it's not going to potentially interact with anything, is there anything in there? And that's a good question. So what are homeopathics? Well, let's explain that. Have you ever heard in Frozen 2, Olaf, he says water has memory, right? Anyone? So water does have memory. They have scientifically shown this, that water will react differently based on the environment it's in or the surrounding it's in. And they've done that with music, changing the type of music it's surrounded by, but also the actual environment, what's in it over time. And so what homeopathics have done, which has been around for a very long time, is they take substances, put it in water, and then titrate it out. And by doing that, the substance that was in there has already created a memory in the water, and we call that an energetic medicine. So you're still getting the energetics of that medicine. You're still going to get some changes, some response. Your body's going to react, because we know energy can transform, and change, but never be removed. But it doesn't have the risk of actually consuming the substance that you would originally, whether that's a herb or if that's a poison. So a good example of how homeopathics works, let's say you have arsenic poisoning. Well, arsenic in water creates a memory of it, and so you could potentially take arsenic, homeopathics, to treat the same symptoms of arsenic poisoning. The reason why is the energetics of it can displace those symptoms out of the body. So it's very complicated. I like to think of it as more of like a catalyst in a reaction. So any science nerds out there, you know that a catalyst does not get used up in a reaction, but it helps the enzymes work. So it allows the reaction to become the product much quicker. So oftentimes in homeopathics, you will get a little bit of a worsening before you get better. And that's because we're kind of fighting through those symptoms and pushing through and then getting to the next side by clearing it. So I hope that I was able to explain homeopathics a little bit better. We do a fair amount at the Oakville Clinic. I don't do as much at my other practices because I do a lot more IV therapy, nutrients, and all of these other fancy stuff, but that's okay. I find that homeopathics work best in children. So I love, love, love using it for children or as an adjunct. So oftentimes I don't just give homeopathics. I'll give it plus something else. And so our seasonal allergy support visits, we do give this oral squirt, but oftentimes I will recommend something like NAC or quercetin or bromelain or nettle. So these are all different herbs that have been shown to be very beneficial at helping with that histamine response, breaking down mucus and phlegm, helping with decongestion, helping reduce the allergic response as well as the symptoms involved. So like the itchiness is a common one. So if you're interested in these seasonal allergy supports or the other herbal medicines that we can provide you, I would ask that you direct message me either on Instagram or Facebook, and we will set you up at one of our clinics. Anyways, take care. Have a lovely weekend.